I was talking to my undergraduate advisor, kind of getting some tips from them. They would let me know that I would have to research whatever school I was applying to, especially if they have the department I'm interested or the research I'm interested. Also, if I'm interested in that school, kind of look at the faculty as well, get an understanding of what kind of research they're performing.
I would do that by just going on the university's website and looking up what their research interests are, looking up some papers that they've published, and seeing if we could relate and match my interests.
If you're kind of not sure what you want to do, you can use your first year to get used to that, but at least as you progress, you should get an idea of what you're really interested in.
As your advisor, you're going to be interacting with them for about, whether it's a master's or a Ph.D., so at least 2 to 5 years usually, or maybe even more. It's super important that your relationship with them is healthy and good, that you feel that you can talk to them and they feel they can talk to you, obviously, and you're not, I guess, afraid to voice your opinions on the research or your workload or anything like that. So really finding a good fit, I think, is the most important thing.
I started doing research the freshman year of undergrad and all through senior year, and kind of that helped me obtain a lot of techniques and skills.
Well, I was very lucky with my undergrad education because it was a very small university. It allowed me to be hands-on. So I was allowed to participate in a research project that I thought of, I did, I created, and kind of performed it. I just did it was adsorption of metal ions from aqueous solution with fruit peels. But it was a very simple experiment. Even though it was simple, it still taught me the logistics to be able to come here and to create my own experiments and to flourish in research.
They accepted me to come here for 8 weeks and work on visualization-related research topics.
It was really great, and we had a lot of NSF-related activities where we started talking about how do you apply to grad school, how do you decide on your advisor kind of thing, what questions should you ask. All these little side activities that at the time, I guess I didn't focus on them. I didn't realize how important they were because I definitely thought back, I was really glad I took them later when I was actually in the process of applying. If you come to grad school, you'll see it happens all the time. People, even in our department, I was chemical engineering, person just down the hall, she was a physics major, now she's in material science. People just, it's really more about the research. So if there's something that you've always wanted to do, and even if it's not what you just spent 4 years getting, it's okay to try it or to try something new.
Well, as a prospect, eyes are on you from the moment you step foot on campus until the moment you leave at night. So treat it all as an interview process because people are judging you whether you know it or not in a negative way, but just looking at your capabilities, looking at the way you treat people, seeing if you are a workable person. Can I have you around in my lab? Am I willing to invest in your education? It's all an interview process.
We've had students that have come and applied and interviewed, and their normal meetings with all the PIs, they went great, they were wonderful, but when we went out with them, it was just very clear that their personality and the personality of all the people in the lab already were just not going to work well together. And that can truly determine what the advisor decides whether to take you or not. If you're not going to fit in with the students he already has, chances are they're probably not going to take you. And that's not true for every PI in every situation, but just remember you're always on, and that goes both ways.
I prepared before I went. I wore presentable clothes. I had everything lined up that I wanted to talk about. I usually had a checklist. If you're going to interact with faculty, you want to treat it, again, like the end goal.
I kind of was able to meet with professors, talk again more in depth in terms of what their research was, what papers they've published. Also, one of the key things that I took from it was that I was able to talk to the actual students that were working under those professors, and they kind of gave me an idea of what the lab environment is, what kind of research is performed, how to better interact with a PI if our personalities match, and so on. So especially talking to the students, that work under the professors really helped me out.
I just made appointments and I went and talked to them. I said, I'd really like to know more about your research. And they told me what they're doing, and I asked some more questions like what I need to be good at in order to do well at what we're doing here. How does this apply? Like, where could I use it?
Do your homework. If you get a schedule that you know you're going to be meeting with different faculty, even if you're not necessarily interested in right now working with that faculty, do a quick Google search, look up their websites, make sure that you come prepared to know like who does what. You're not going to remember that the day of, and that's okay. But having a good idea of what different people in especially the department you're trying to get into work on it shows that you want to come to Clemson, and it gives you a really good first impression if you can say, oh, I read one of your papers, or I saw that you work on X and I'm really interested in Y. You know, could you explain to me how that works while you're doing your interviews or while you're talking to people throughout your weekend the first time you're here?
A big part of a campus visit is meeting people in your prospective lab. So after I was done meeting with her, I got to go out and have lunch with her current students, and that's where I really learned what lab life was like.
Making contact really started with my first advisor in the Department of Environmental Engineering and Earth Science, and I just got into contact with him by just emailing him after going online and looking at the different faculty members at Clemson, and I noticed that there was like an alignment in research interest. So I just went ahead and I contacted him and asked him what kind of research he's working on right now, if it's still similar to what he had on his website.
I contacted one of my old co-PIs and asked who she recommended for a good potential advisor for a PhD program. And she, in my master's, I did environmental toxicology research, but it was just under the field of marine biology. So she knew a couple of toxicologists, and she, at the time, was also working with toxicologists from Clemson. And so she recommended my current PI and also a few others for me to potentially get in contact with because she thought they'd be a good fit. So I contacted Dr. Baldwin, who is now my PI. I think he's the first one who I got in touch with at Clemson. And it was nice to have that connection between my old professor and this new professor because they had already known of each other. So it's easier to make that connection with him.
The way I was raised, my mom told me to never half-step or never do anything with half of your effort. And so I really took that to heart. In relocating to Clemson, I treated everything as an opportunity. Even if it is just dinner with a professor, that's a networking event. Speaking briefly with my now PI, I was able to come to Clemson early, do a summer full of research, get funding, present at scientific conferences. This is my second one I just did last week this year. So everything really is an opportunity. If you don't take the initiative to get where you want to be, someone else will.